Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another Q&A. I've got a couple of questions I'm going to do today and a couple more in a few days' time because otherwise this video will end up a bit too long. So the first question was sent in by Mo. Sorry, today's snack break was coffee fudge. It was my birthday, so I got a lot of chocolate and fudge. The other thing people always do is look at my shelves like, what am I reading? What's going on? Well, this book is Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky, a novella we've just read for the book club on Headspace. Hey, see what I did there? There's a plug. Go and check out Patreon, writing forum for writers, all the rest of it. We also have a book club where we have books every 2 or 3 months and we talk about them and dissect them from a writer's perspective. There you go. Plug over. Like, subscribe, share the videos, all that jazz. Anyway, let's go on to Mo's question. So, Mo asked, he's considered restarting his YouTube channel, which focuses on books and publishing. Does he think having a social media presence or a presence on YouTube boosts your writing career and drives sales? And what are some of the great ways for upcoming writers to boost their presence to be noted in today's bustling marketplace? So that is both the million-dollar question, and if everybody knew the answer to that, they would be doing it. However, if you look at it this way, all publishers are engaged in social media. They know that not everybody who reads their books is on social media, but some of the most vocal, positive, promotional people who talk about books, who are enthusiastic about books, are on social media. In particular, Instagram, BookTok, TikTok is very popular now for certain types of novels. YouTube is huge. Some of the biggest booktube channels on there have 500,000 subscribers and they're just focused purely on science fiction and fantasy. Twitter obviously has gone through some ups and downs in recent years, but it is still a very good place for talking to other writers and discovering things. So should you have a presence? If you're comfortable with social media, then yes, I think you should have a presence on Twitter and Instagram at a minimum, plus your own website. You must have your own website, even if you don't use social media. It's useful for a resource that when someone Googles your name, Googles the name of your book, it's one of the first things that pops up because it's the most relevant organically. It's you talking about your books, information about your books, the order, your biography, photos of you, all this stuff people will want to know for talking about your book, promoting it, reviews and so on. So that's the kind of basics. Does having any of this stuff help your sales? In theory, yes. Otherwise, all of the publishers wouldn't do it. It's that thing of how many times do you have to walk past the thing before you will actually buy that object or remember it. I think the thing is something like, if you see something 8 times, then you'll remember it. So you don't want to go on the Twitter and just keep spamming the same old stuff every hour in the hope that, by the 8th time, people will remember it and start buying it. So you have to kind of be comfortable with Twitter, Instagram, talking about your books and other stuff because people want to know about you as an individual, your likes, your hobbies. I showed you that fudge that I was eating. Yes, it's funny, but also it shows you that, I've got a sweet tooth. And it was my birthday the other day, and that's one of the things I got. So it's sharing as much of yourself with the world, in essence, as you feel comfortable doing. Because remember, people don't just buy books based upon the cover or even the description. Some people will buy books based upon the individual and if they like them or not. I talked about this in my recent video when I went to Chicago for a convention. So if you haven't watched that, here's a link here, go and watch it. I knew a little bit about the guest of honour, Stephen Brust. I bought one of his books to read when I was over there. But during the course of the event, I met him there, I listened to him talk on panels, and I found him charming, funny, intelligent, and he had a really unique way of looking at writing. So based upon me meeting him, interacting with him, thinking, it sounds like quite an interesting guy, I then went out and bought 2 more of his books, purely based upon talking to him and seeing him and engaging with him as a person. I hadn't seen the covers of those books before, I hadn't even read the description. I think 3 things drive people to buy books, or probably 4. Hype is one, other people talking about it. So, if you're engaging with these people on social media and they like you and then they talk about your book, that is good. The individual as the person, if someone likes that, that can drive person to buy a book or check out their work. If they see them on social media, on a panel, on another person's YouTube channel somewhere talking about books, writing an article on a podcast, all of these things. The cover, a lot of people buy books based upon the cover. I know you shouldn't, and all this kind of stuff. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. A lot of people do. That's why they spend a lot of time with publishers working on the art. And on some of my previous books, we've gone through a number of revisions of the covers because we said it's not engaging enough, it's not eye-catching enough, it's not sending the right message. And that's a very important thing for people. And obviously the fourth thing that drives people to buy a book is the description. The blurb on the back, the pitch, the hook, whatever it might be. The kind of very short summary, the elevator pitch that you can give to someone. Those are the four things that I think will drive people to buy a book. There are probably others that I've forgotten, but those are the ones that I'm thinking of today. The other part of Mo's question was about should he start his YouTube channel? And that comes back to two things as well. One is your personality. Some people will watch some of my videos, they don't like me, that's fine. They go somewhere else. Some people will watch it and think, he's a funny guy, let's watch some of his videos, I like him. And they subscribe and they keep watching. It's down to personality, not even necessarily content. It's the way you talk about things. The other thing is, I'm going to use the word, I hate it, they use it all too much in TV. Oh, we're all doing this apparently. Anyway, the journey, ugh. We're all going on a journey apparently. Ugh. But anyway, your experiences in books and publishing will be different to mine and everybody else's, which is another chance for me to plug my author interviews that I do, late night talks. Here's a link to the most recent one that I did with Sadir, who's a self-published author. His unique experiences of getting publishing is radically different to anybody else's that I've talked to, and I've got like 30 interviews here. That's another reason I do it. One, I like talking to authors, and two, how they got to where they are will be different to everybody else's. So if you have your YouTube channel and you're talking about where you got to, how you got to where you are now, what's going on with you, and what you're planning to do in the future, people will find that interesting, may find it relevant, may want to follow along with your journey and see how you're getting on and what they can learn from your experience. And if you talk about some of the things that have happened to you that weren't great, maybe things that you've mistakes you've made, that's stuff that they could avoid, things not to do. I've done some videos about this kind of thing before, like if you submit to an agent, you pay attention to their individual requirements. If they say, send me the first 5 chapters, and another one sends, send me the first 3 chapters, and you just blast both of them with the same content, you know, that's something that you shouldn't do. So it's things like that, like you say, oh, I didn't read this quite clearly enough, I sent this off and I did that, that's my fault, or, you know, things people can learn from your experiences. So if you have the time, if you have the inclination to start a YouTube channel and you want to do it, and you can talk about your experiences in self-publishing, traditional publishing, but also your genre, because it's different for every genre. Obviously, I write fantasy, so I talk a lot about those particular genres, but not all of them. Like romance is a very different kind of animal to science fiction and fantasy. Thrillers are very different to science fiction and fantasy. So my knowledge is predominantly, as I said, in the science fiction and fantasy genre space. So it's probably most relevant to those people, but there are general things you can pick up from it. Gone are the days when writers can be completely anonymous and just not have any kind of social media presence or anything like that online and just be kind of a name and nobody knows anything about you. People now want to engage with the individual. It's probably most prevalent in science fiction and fantasy. There are other genres where it's growing, but I think we have the most connection with our readers and the industry. So having some kind of a presence, if you get so big that basically you can take a step back, that's totally different. But if you're trying to get your name there, and as you said, try and, you know, gain a presence or get noticed within this bustling marketplace, there are a number of things you can do. So have some kind of social media presence, talk about the things that you like as well as your books, then people will get to know you as an individual, well, as much as you're willing to share. Obviously certain things I never talk about and I never will talk about because that's completely private. So I'm only sharing a portion of myself online and the rest of it is my private life. The other thing you do is try and engage with all of these people. Talk about booktubers and, you know, social media things. Talk to them about their relevant things. Try and be a guest on channels that have a big presence that are relevant to yours, and, you know, as many of the others as you can, and get your name out there. Have a blog where you talk about things. Have a social media presence where you talk about things. You could even have a podcast if you're not comfortable on video. I'm not particularly comfortable on video. believe it or not. I've grown used to it, I guess. But some people just don't want to do it at all, so they just have a podcast. If you're happy talking to people, you could do that. Brian McClellan, who's a published author, traditionally published author by Orbit, does fantasy, Flintlock fantasy. He's got a podcast where he talks to other writers. Familiar. Maybe you could do something like that. Getting your name out there in whatever ways you feel comfortable, I think, is the right approach. If you have stuff you want to say, the stuff you want to talk about, you're a blabbermouth, maybe a YouTube channel is the way to go. Have a think about it. Oh, the other thing to think about with YouTube is they love consistency, and all the algorithms say, oh, you don't need to release a certain number of videos every day or every week and blah, blah, blah. You have to be able to keep putting content out. I've stuck with one video a week. Originally, I was doing more than that. It just wasn't working. I've gone back to one. Probably hasn't grown my channel as fast as it could and gained my presence or the rest of it. But again, it's down to time. What do I have the time to do to fit in around everything else? Whether it's having a life, having a job, having time with my family and friends, and writing and the other stuff. So time constraint. That's another thing that will dictate whether or not you should have a YouTube channel. I've got some other questions. I'm going to do that in a separate video and talk about them in a few days' time, but that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'll be back very soon with another video.